Dear students, let's continue Chapter 3, Simple Nutrients into Cells. Today we shall discuss about portal circulation, then we shall discuss about heartbeat, pulse and blood pressure, and also we shall discuss about formation of tissue fluid. So first we shall discuss about portal circulation. We already discussed about different types of blood vessels in last class. So which are they? Yes, arteries, veins and capillaries. So we know that the duty of vein is to carry blood from different parts of our body into heart. But some veins do not reach heart. So such veins are known as portal veins. Then what is the duty of these veins? These portal veins carry blood from one organ to another organ. So let's consider this is one organ and this is another organ. So the duty of portal vein is to carry blood from one organ to another organ. And one other speciality is that the portal veins begins as capillaries and ends as capillaries. So the function of portal vein is to carry blood from one organ to another organ. Then the another speciality of portal vein is that it begins as capillaries and ends with capillaries. So children, now let us see an example of portal circulation. So an example for portal circulation is hepatic portal system. Hepatic portal system. This is an example for portal circulation. So we already know that in portal circulation, the portal veins carries blood from one organ to another organ. So in hepatic portal system, the portal vein carries blood from intestine to liver. So let's consider this is intestine and this is liver. So in hepatic portal system, the portal vein carries blood from small intestine to liver. So this is an organ and this is one another organ. And then what is the other speciality of portal vein? We already studied that the portal vein begins as capillaries and ends with capillaries. So in hepatic portal system, the portal vein begins as capillaries from the intestine and ends as capillaries to the liver. So children, we can see that the blood from intestine is carried through the portal vein to the liver. So this is an example of a portal circulation. So in intestine, what is the speciality of intestine? We know that there are nutrients which we get through food which we consume. So when the blood transports from intestine to liver, the nutrients also transport along with the blood. So the blood from the intestine along with the nutrients transports through the portal vein or the hepatic portal vein and reaches the liver. So now the nutrients reaches the liver. And from liver, so why these nutrients are reaching the liver? There are some changes are happening from liver that we can discuss after some time. So now let us see the nutrients, the blood along with the nutrients reaches the liver. And from liver, what happens is after undergoing some changes, the blood from liver is transported through the hepatic vein, and from hepatic vein it enters into vena cava and finally it reaches the heart. So now the nutrients reaches the heart. So I hope you understood how the nutrients from intestine reaches the heart. So I already told you some changes are happening to simple nutrients inside the liver. So let us study what are the changes happening to the simple nutrients inside the liver. So the first changes from the liver, the glucose or the excess glucose is stored in the form of glycogen. So the first change is the simple nutrient glucose is stored in the form of glycogen in the liver. Then the second change is releases energy from fatty acid from liver. The energy from fatty acid is released. And the third change is producing cholesterol from the liver. The production of cholesterol takes place. So these are the changes happening to simple nutrients inside the liver.
Now we shall discuss about heartbeat, pulse and blood pressure. First we can discuss about heartbeat. One systole and subsequent diastole together constitute a heartbeat. So what is a systole? The contraction of chambers of heart is termed as systole. In systole, the blood flows from atria to ventricles and from ventricles to outside. Then what is a diastole? After systole, the atria and ventricle relax and the chambers of heart get filled with blood, and this is called diastole. Average rate of heartbeat is 72 times per minute. Now we can study about pulse. The wave-like movement formed due to the contraction and relaxation of heart is felt throughout the walls of arteries is called pulse. This is the point where you can feel the pulse on the wrist. Not only the wrist, many other pulse points are there in our body. It include sides of lower jaw, sides of neck, both sides of forehead, etc. So you have to check your pulse rate in a minute when you are in rest, and you have to note down your pulse rate. Then you have to check your pulse rate again after doing exercise for a few minutes. Then what is the difference do you notice from the pulse rate which you have noted before? Yes, the pulse rate increases. Then what is the reason for this? While doing exercise, the heartbeat increases, and as a result, the blood circulation also increases. And this is the reason for the change in pulse rate. Now we can discuss about blood pressure. Blood pressure is the force of blood against your artery walls. And there are two readings which measure blood pressure. Systolic pressure is the higher number. It measures the force of blood being pushed around your body when your heart contracts. Diastolic pressure is the lower number. It measures when the heart relaxes between beats. High blood pressure is when your blood pressure is always higher than it should be. This is known as hypertension and is usually diagnosed when your levels are always above 140 by 90 millimeter of mercury. Hypertension may cause by the excess use of salt and fat, smoking, lack of exercise, etc. The condition in which the blood pressure rate goes below the prescribed rate is called hypotension. If not regulated, both the hypotension and hypertension may lead to stroke or heart attack. Blood pressure can be measured by using the instruments like sphygmomanometer and digital BP apparatus.
Now we understood how the simple nutrients reaches the heart from small intestine, isn't it? And these simple nutrients need to reach near cells for carrying out various life activities in the cells. So how the simple nutrients from the heart reaches near the cells? Through blood, isn't it? So how it reaches into the cells through blood? Let us find out. So let's draw a diagram. You just consider these are our cells. And we know that the capillaries bring blood into the cells. So this is a capillary and blood flows through the capillary. And near to this, just like the blood capillary, there will be also lymph capillary near the cells. So when blood flows through this capillary, what happens is the fluid part of the blood oozes out into this space. So this is the space between blood capillary and cells, and this space is known as intercellular space or interstitial space. So when the blood flows through the capillary, the fluid part of the blood oozes out into the intercellular space, and this fluid which is present in the intercellular space is known as tissue fluid. So along with this fluid, oxygen and glucose. So along with this fluid, oxygen and glucose from the blood also enters into the intercellular space. And from intercellular space, the tissue fluid along with oxygen and glucose enters into cells. So let us say it once more. When blood flows through the capillaries, the fluid part of the blood oozes out into the intercellular space, and this fluid which is present now in the intercellular space is known as tissue fluid. So when the fluid oozes out from the blood, along with this fluid, oxygen and glucose also reaches the intercellular space, and from intercellular space the tissue fluid enters into cells along with oxygen and glucose. So now the cells get oxygen and glucose. So the cells can utilize it for various life activities, and after that what happens is a little amount of fluid also enters into lymph capillary. A little amount of fluid enters into lymph capillary. But the remaining part of the fluid re-enters again into intercellular space. So when the fluid re-enters into intercellular space, what happens is, along with this fluid, it also carries waste and carbon dioxide from cells. Waste and carbon dioxide. So we know that after various life activities, the byproduct formed from the cells, which include waste and some carbon dioxide. So this waste and carbon dioxide get carried along with the tissue fluid, which re-enters into the intercellular space. And this tissue fluid again enters back into blood capillary. So now this is impure blood, and then this blood enters into vena cava and reaches the heart again for purification. So children, let us say the entire process once more. So just consider, these are our cells, and this is the blood capillary, and this is the lymph capillary. And the space in between the cell and the blood capillary is known as intercellular space. Now, when the blood flows through the blood capillary, what happens is the fluid part of the blood oozes out into the intercellular space. So now the fluid which is present in intercellular space is known as tissue fluid. So when the fluid oozes out from the blood capillary, what happens is it also carries oxygen and glucose from the blood into the intercellular space. And from the intercellular space, the tissue fluid along with oxygen and glucose enters into cells, so that the cells got oxygen and glucose. So now the cells can utilize oxygen and glucose for carrying out various life activities. And a little amount of fluid also enters into lymph capillary. Then the remaining part of the fluid re-enters into the intercellular space again. The remaining part of the fluid from the cells re-enters into the intercellular space. So when the fluid re-enters into the intercellular space, it also carries waste and carbon dioxide from cells. into the intercellular space. And then the tissue fluid, which contain waste and carbon dioxide, again enters into blood capillary, and this blood capillary connects with vena cava, and then the blood reaches the heart for purification. So I think now you understood how the simple nutrients reaches the cells through blood. Then what about the nutrients that does not absorb into blood? We already studied while discussing the second chapter. We studied that some nutrients get absorbed into blood, but the fatty acid and glycerol only absorb into the lacteal or the lymph inside the lacteal. So how this fatty acid and glycerol reaches the cells? So this fatty acid can reach cells only through lymphatic system. So just like circulatory system, our body also have a lymphatic system which consists of lymph ducts, lymph nodes, spleen. So this lymph nodes, in this picture you can see the lymph ducts, then nodes, lymph nodes, and also you can see the spleen. So the lymph nodes and spleen have the role in defense mechanism, and the lymph ducts carry the nutrient which is fatty acid and glycerol to the cells. So let us see how it happens. Fatty acid and so we know that the fatty acid and glycerol enters into lacteal. In second chapter we already studied this. So the fatty acid, the simple nutrient fatty acid and glycerol, which enters or which is absorbed only into the lymph inside the lacteal. So inside the lacteal you can see lymph. Then from lacteal, the lymph along with fatty acid and glycerol enters into small lymph ducts. And from small lymph ducts, the lymph along with fatty acid and glycerol enters into large lymph ducts. And from large lymph ducts, it enters into vena cava. And through vena cava it reaches the heart. Then from heart it can reach the cells through blood.